Hello and welcome back to Lessons Learned, sponsored by the Healthy Communities Coalition, where community health matters. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Minister Ronald Covington in Baltimore, Maryland. Ronald, welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Good to be
You're
here.
welcome. I won't keep you long. I want you to share with people, give us a little bit of your background, working in the community, how long you've worked in the community, the types of things you've done, who you've worked with, maybe why you do the work you do.
Okay, sure. So I've been doing this work for over 30 years in different capacities. I've worked with youth probably since I was a young person, 18 years old, just helping out initially just with coaching, and then went into it as a profession, working with youth at Job Corps Center. I'm currently a school teacher, and I've had different stints in teaching school, coached in high school, middle school, elementary school, and ran athletic programs for youth of all ages, camps, mentoring programs, you name it. I've just about done it when it comes to working with young people. Also, I am, as you said, an ordained clergy in the Baptist Church. So I've had experience working with youth ministry directly. And also I've had experience as a pastor and pastoral ministry as well. Had an opportunity to directly engage the community in terms of organizing, working with the Build organization through the program that they started, after school program called Child First. I was organizer with Child First and got to work on some exciting campaigns, one of them being the 21st Century Building Campaign in Baltimore City, where now we have, I think it's about 15 or 16, and I think they're going to have at least 23 brand new 21st century state-of-the-art schools, ranging from elementary, middle, and high schools for young people in Baltimore City to have an opportunity to engage in the 21st century building. And I'm fortunate and blessed to right now, my teaching assignment is working in one of those buildings. So it's one of those opportunities that, that you are able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So it's exciting to be able to do that. Everything is kind of, touch screen and this and that. I had to actually catch up to learning technology.
Wow.
So I've done that. And that was one of the significant wins in terms of organizing that we've had, because you can see something come to light, come to fruition, something that you can, brick and mortar that you can put your hands on and really be able to, benefit from it and see where it makes a difference. Like you can actually drink the water, like you really can drink the water, before you go into schools, like don't drink the water, and they had water coolers all over the place. You can wash your hands, like
exactly, really, literally.
Yeah, like wow, there's running water. It works. You turn the lights on and they work. It's even to the point with the climate in the air. Sometimes it's so comfortable that it's cold. Like yesterday, a lot of schools may have been struggling with the heat, but we were very comfortable, and I appreciate that. So you realize, and this comes time in the work, you get frustrated. There are high points where you know that your labor truly is not in vain. So that kind of sums up the work that I've been able to do. A lot of different experiences, met a lot of great people along the way. So and you being one of them, it's been a rewarding journey, I would say, definitely.
It really has been, but it's something when it comes full circle and you can see the fruits of your labor, because often in this work, you may or may not see it. And,
right.
and I don't know if you would agree, but I think more times than less, I guess more often than not, you actually probably don't see it.
Sure.
There are gains you see immediately, but there are gains that we will never see.
Right, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's something, wow. Well, tell me one lesson that you've learned, and I know you've learned many, and this will be very hard, but one lesson you've learned that could either inspire someone, inform them, comfort them, advise, just any lesson that you've learned that you can share with someone who is currently either working in the community or they're interested in getting, and working in the community.
Sure. So I would go back to what we shared about the 21st century building. I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned from that is the importance of relational organizing, relational power, and making sure that you are mindful about making connections with folks who maybe have a different capacity than you do. I know that my first experience with it, and it's been something that's been going on for years. So it's probably at least a decade or more of organizing and frustration and complaining and rallies and that type of thing, where people were just tired of going into buildings, and not just about the modernness of a 21st century building in terms of the technology, but going into buildings where there was no air conditioning at all. The heat didn't work in the wintertime. Windows were burst. The bathroom facilities weren't acceptable. Just basic stuff that a human being would need in any type of facility, particularly our babies, our young people.
Mm-hmm.
But just understanding the importance of relational organizing, that parents had gotten involved in it, teachers, administrators, not only school level administrators, but district level administrators. You had the ACLU, you had organizations like Build. They even created another organization to bring people together to address the problem. We engage politicians. We engage, politicians on all levels, city as well as state politicians. We other organizations that were doing community work. You name it, we just about kind of touched it. And understanding that importance that you are one individual and you bring a lot to the table as an individual, but some things are bigger than what you have the capacity for, and be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people get caught up, they get frustrated, and they think that they can do it all, right? Or the need is so big, they don't feel like anybody else wants to do it. But adding in that is really understanding what you want out of it, your self-interest, right? And being able to articulate that and say that and be upfront with that. I think that's so important. I've seen a lot of great ideas and passionate people and energetic people who are willing to do the work, get frustrated and halt themselves before they start because they don't want to open up. They don't trust others. But I think part of the trust factor is like, if you and I were going to do something together, hey, what are you trying to get out of this, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Let's be honest with that, right? And this is what I'm trying to get out with this. So out of this. So let's see how we can come together and put together our interests and what we want, and see if we can come to some point of agreement, on some point of understanding, like, hey, this is what we're going to do for the greater good. You might not be able to get everything you want, but if you can make some progress along the way and work towards something, and then it'll open up. Maybe what I was looking for wasn't necessarily the thing that I needed, and maybe it's what I thought I needed, so you can grow from those relationships. So I would say relational power, coming to the table, being open and honest about what it is you want and understanding what the other person wants, and really being willing to do the work to build those relationships. Now, I'm not talking about relationships where, we're going to hang out and go to the movies, and go,
exactly.
Go to our favorite play or coffee.
Mm-hmm.
You may have some meetings in those places in informal settings, and there is some fellowship that goes on. You build a sense of working together. But the issue is you want to really build those relations, like understand who this person is and find out their motivation and their why and that type of thing. Because I think that you get energy from that, right? Mm-hmm. This work can be lonely. It can be frustrating, right?
Yes.
And people, sometimes you may be up and you might have to pull out a person, and sometimes they may be up and they had to pull you, and sometimes both of y'all down, and you got to find a way to kind of connect, because there's ebbs and flows. There's successes, there's setbacks, and I would say that there are probably a lot more setbacks at the beginning, the frustration when you're learning the process, but then it's important to celebrate those wins as well. Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest lesson I think that I've learned. That 21st century project would not have come to pass by any one of those entities that came together to do it. Everybody, you needed the Maryland Stadium Authority, you needed the state politicians, you needed the local politicians, you needed the school administrations, you needed teachers, you needed parents, you needed students. I remember we had that rally with 2,000 people down in Annapolis, to fight for this issue. And that came from, it wasn't just because one person said, hey, come, but there were community organizations, even if it was as small as 3 or 4, that made a difference in it, because everybody seemed to have a voice, and there was energy and the politicians. I remember politicians we told them we went down there to do some pre-organizing work and told them, hey, listen, we're going to bring 2,500 of our best friends down there. Oh, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And then when we got there that day, I remember the politician, she was hit me in my arm, like, yeah, you did it. You said you was going to do it. I said, I told you. But it all had to go back to the point, the relational power piece, right? Like, you know, building those relationships, taking that time to hear what people's interests are, their stories, their passions, and that type of thing. And I think once a person has a voice,
yes,
you know, they're willing to kind of act on that. So that's the biggest lesson I think that I learned during that period of time.
Wow.
Met some great people along the way.
Wow.
And that's been the story of my life, relational organizing to one degree or another, right?
Absolutely, because you know everyone. And that's powerful because it takes time to do that.
Right.
You know, I mean, I heard a couple of things in the, you know, in your relational organizing advice. I heard, you know, you have to build relationships with those who are like-minded.
Right.
But you also have to build relationships with those who have different capacities.
That's right. That's right.
You know, and the like-mindedness doesn't have to be, you know, you all hanging out together.
Right.
The like-mindedness could be the common goal.
Right. The common goal. And we all agree on everything. We may or may not. There may be some issues that we don't agree on, right? You know, the ACLU, they tend to be, I guess, more liberal in their approach with some issues, and then you had conservative clergy persons. But for this particular issue, we came together. You know, we put our differences aside. I can remember one time there was a issue about the clergy, you know, speaking and using, you know, invoking religion or using the name of Jesus, whatever the case might be. And we had a conversation about it. You know, some people who were, you know, a little more liberal and didn't want that to happen, you know, said, hey, why do we have to do that? I said, why can't they be who they are? You know, it's not going to affect the work. You know what I mean? If anything, that's going to, you know, and we're not saying that what you do is wrong, but don't say what we do
is wrong either.
You know, so, and sometimes there is some tension in there, but the thing is the relationship, you know, working through it helps to kind of alleviate that tension, and you see, hey, this kind of works, you know, this kind of works. So
well, see, and I think it also helps to garner respect because we all have the equal respect for the work.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and exactly. So they respect you. Hey, I didn't agree with that, but I appreciate that he said that. Because sometimes, you know, we think things and don't say it, and then it's a problem later, right?
Absolutely.
That's why it's important with that self-interest. Say, hey, this is where I'm at. You know, okay, let's work through it. You know what I mean? Let's work through it. And it takes a little bit more time. I think that's the other thing too, is that we want to hurry up and get to the finish line, but sometimes we got to slow down a little bit and do the legwork in order for this thing that the work can be successful. Right.
Enjoy the process. There is and I know I'm going to misquote this, but I've heard it twice, probably in the last month, and it's in 2 different programs that I'm participating in. But is, you know, it says if you want to go fast, to go alone.
Right.
You know, and if you want to go far, go together.
Right. That's right. That's it right there. That's it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Ronald. You really have dropped several gems for us, you know, for us to consider. You know, you were, as usual, you know, just upfront, direct, and still passionate, you know, about the work, because we have to give common sense advice and practical advice as well to let people know that, you know, this is heart work.
Right. That's right.
You know, and hard work can, you know, sometimes hard work is not a walk in the park.
Right. That's right.
So that's something. Wow. Well, thank you.
I thought about something real quick just to share. A couple years ago, I read an article about some of the structures that they've done in Europe that takes hundreds of years to be able to do it. And then people would do different parts of the work, you know, during their lifetime. And they realized that they would never see the end result, but they knew that they were contributing to something that was going to benefit people for generations to come. So you kind of think about it like that, like the work doesn't stop, the work keeps going on, and you may not see the end result, but you know that somewhere in the future that your contribution kind of made a difference to it, right? Because, you know, even though we have victories, there's still more victories to be won, you know, so keep on doing your part to build the structure, the wall, or whatever the case might be. And I think, you know, that you'll know that your labor truly isn't in vain, even if you don't get to see all the fruits of it, you know, but every now and then you'll get a chance to see some of it to encourage you along the way.
Absolutely. That is so powerful. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad, I'm so glad that we were able to connect today. It
Mhm.
was worth the wait. It was worth the rescheduling.
Right. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Thank
thank
you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Thank
I'm going to give you your look, your Saturday morning back. I'm really appreciative that you joined me. I forgot to mention it. I'm also more appreciative, just touching on your capacity building piece.
Mhm.
I had no background in working with youth ex-offenders.
Mhm.
So when we were awarded that grant to work with youth ex-offenders in Baltimore, yeah, I knew exactly, through Michael, he knew to contact you,
Mhm.
but that's why we kind of convened that board of experts. We had
Mhm.
a management advisory board that
Mhm.
advised the program. You guys oversaw the hiring, you oversaw the policies that we developed, and we needed to report back to you, and that's really part of, well, that's how we formed our relationship, which
Mhm.
is still, alive and vibrant, and I'm grateful for.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
but I had to, we had to lean on your expertise and your capacity and not try to do it alone. So that is another good example that just
Yep.
popped into my head.
Absolutely.
Um, and it worked, it worked out very well. It really did for that work. It's funny because I'm thinking about it a little bit, going back into, well, convening other people who do the
Sure.
work to go back into that work. But
Mhm.
but it's nothing I would have gone after directly. But it was so valuable. It really was, working with those young men.
Absolutely.
Um, if you have any lessons, before I go down a rabbit hole, if you have any lessons learned that you would love to share, or any future topics that you would like discussed, please drop them in the comments below. Thank you very much for joining us today. And until next time, keep doing, keep moving, and keep shaking things up in your communities. Peace.
Working in community, no place I'd rather be. Working in community, lifting, loving, setting free. Don't know where